is better, a read-along or an audiobook? That is the question we look at today here at homeschoolhangout.xyz. Who am I? I'm Jacqueline, and I am a veteran homeschooler of 19 years, and I make videos to help you homeschool with peace and clarity. These videos are applicable for everywhere in the United States, but sometimes I pay a little special attention to my home state of California. If you like these kinds of videos, do me a favor, thumbs up, like, subscribe, join my Facebook group, buy me a cup of coffee if you think I've been helpful. There's links down below, and let's get into it. Okay. First, we got to start off with what is the difference between a read-along and an audiobook. So even in read-alongs, there's two primary differences. And those differences show when it's important and when it's not important. One is when you, the parent, adult, basically non-student, are reading to the students. One is when the student reads to you. And an audiobook is simply turning on an audio narration of a book that is faithful word by word. I say this because I've had some people say, well, I turned on this cartoon, this movie. And it's like, yeah, but that's not an audiobook. That's different. Okay, so each one of these things serves a different purpose, and I feel are perfect for a different time. Okay, the traditional read aloud, and I used to do this with my kids. We'd all shove in on the couch, and I'd read, primarily when they were in elementary school, I would read the Story of the World book to them. But sometimes I read stories. And even on this, I have a story time with Oma on here. And the difference is between that and an audiobook is your children traditionally can look at the book and follow along with the words you are reading. Okay, that's one type of read along with a parent. And I feel that serves a word to word, I was going to say sound to word connection, okay? That is a very specific thing. Versus you are all tucked in your bed. I have a novel in front of me that I'm reading a chapter to you every night as you go to sleep. That is different because they're not interacting at all with the written word or with the book. Another type of read along, the first one, is when the student reads to you. And that is a very specific type of read along also because they are showing either a familiarity with being able to physically read. You want to make sure that they can read, what is it? Yes, I have books within reach because I do these with Storytime for Oma. My first Passover book, this was not something they started reading when they first read, but at some point when they're in, second grade, maybe, I want them to say, at last Pharaoh freed the Jewish people, and be this, whatever they're reading to you. Frankly, I used to like the back of boxes while I was cooking. I'd have them read to me. Preparing, having them read something like this, you can see what they're having an issue, or if they're having an issue at all, verbalizing. It's also really great to help them get comfortable with the idea of public speaking, performing. This lays the groundwork for speeches and plays and dramas and all of that. It's also great to do read alouds because you read a section and say, tell me what it meant. But that can be done with an audiobook too. Now, an audiobook is done more as a performance that is being done for you, the listening audience, you, your children, whoever's listening to it. You don't have a lot of interaction, or no interaction with a written word unless you go get the book separately and sit and watch the book as they go by, which you can do. So, which one's better? Well, you can't say that. Which one's better depends on what you want to be doing. I don't think there's anything wrong with when you go in to read to your children at night, you turn on an audiobook. We did so many audiobooks in the car because we used to live about 25 minutes away from our church. So we would put in audiobooks and we'd listen to them. They're snippets. Sometimes when you do it that way, you can't say we're going to read a chapter. But most audiobooks do break down by chapter. Audiobooks are great because sometimes if it's a nonfiction book, you might get the author reading it. Like I have to say, Jonah Goldberg, I can't remember the book I'm thinking of. he read it and it was so good. And it's his voice. It's literally his voice because I listened to him on podcasts and stuff. And it was a pseudo-political book talking about fallacies and different things in society. And so it's kind of cool to be able to listen to your favorite author. But fiction books are where I think audiobooks can shine. And why I say that is the Chronicles of Narnia were something we did in our house. And we did road trips. We went down to Legoland every year when they were young. I believe one of the Redgrave sisters did one of the Chronicles of Narnia. I'm sorry. I'm a good reader. I'm a decent dork, so occasionally I'll do a voice or two. I cannot compete with that. Do not deny that experience. It's almost like a theatrical experience, except you're getting word by word out of a book. Doing it at night, there's no magic, I think, in you reading than you sitting with your child and partaking. I understand some of it's about time, so stay there with them. But there is something an audiobook cannot replace, and that is your children watching you read word by word. That is your child reading out loud to you. But don't feel bad if you as a family consume books by audiobooks. I feel like what I see is people say, if you read aloud Harry Potter a chapter a night with your children, that counts as reading. But if you listen to it on audiobook, that doesn't count as reading. I think that's hot garbage. The point of reading is to consume material that is written. You're consuming material that is written. The other point is, I'm going to say this, when people start having these discussions, you're making people feel bad. You're making people feel stupid. And when I say that, I mean, my kids, we did the King Chronicles, or maybe it's the Red Pyramid, all by audiobook. And if I didn't have time to read to my kids or whatever, it doesn't mean that my children aren't well read. It doesn't mean that I'm not a good parent providing that to them. And I think that sometimes when people don't give grace to apply the right thing at the right time and speak in absolutes, sometimes you're making statements you don't want to make to people. So I'm just going to say, everyone, take a beat, even if you don't agree with me. Even if you think you reading a chapter a night to your kid, or mom or dad sitting in the front seat and reading the book on the road trip is the most valuable thing ever, and you're going to be doing it. Good on you. That's your life. That's your choice. But if you want to turn around and say that my children aren't well read because they listen to Around the World in 80 Days in an audiobook instead of sitting and reading it, please don't. And while you might never actually say that, when you say that audiobooks don't count as reading, but read alouds do, that's exactly what you're saying. So just keep that in mind. Give yourself grace to use whatever method works for you. And frankly, my children got to consume a lot more books through hearing due to the audiobooks than if I was just doing read aloud. If for nothing else, if I sat in the front seat and read to my minivan, my children wouldn't have been able to hear it as well as they heard the audiobook. So have grace, enjoy the time. It's all about shared time though too. Think about it. You're giving them an audiobook to go on a walk with, that's cool. Instead of just music, that's cool. But if you're using an audiobook and you're sitting on the couch and listening to it instead of a read aloud, that is still the same quality time. So no guilt. No guilt. Just do what fits best for your goal. Talk to you later. Bye.